So, just like your homework from 2 weeks ago, from lesson 2, which was to choose between Little Red Riding Hood and Cinderella, I'm gonna do the exact same with you, and I'm gonna choose Little Red Riding Hood. We're gonna stray a little away from black and white values and stuff and just talk about how to start a piece. Not a study, but a full-fledged piece. Here it is, guys. We're getting started to talk about the secret sauce. And the first piece of sauce is that artists aren't robots. We can't just conjure up a piece like magic. We need to be inspired and need creative fruit to be able to make any creative juice. So the first step is always reference gathering. To start the entire process off, I always first go to either Google Images or Pinterest or any photo browser of your choice. And I think to myself, where would I want the setting of my piece to be? Well, I really want to do a painting of Little Red Riding Hood setting off from her house and getting ready to go visit her grandma. That's the scene that I decided to choose. When I think of Little Red Riding Hood, I think of the sprawling, lush hills. And since it was recorded by the Brothers Grimm, it's a very classically Eurocentric fairy tale. We can totally change the setting, but I do love the idea of a Western-style pasture, almost like an idyllic hobbit town or something. So now I'm just going to show you my entire process, and I start by grabbing a bunch of images that I really enjoy that match what I'm thinking. So, for example, if anyone needs to know real quick, this is a program known as PureRef, and super quick, let me just pull it up for you. Right here, PureRef. So this is completely free, and I totally recommend it if you have never tried it before. It's a great place to keep all of your reference into one location. So I really want to be as accurate as possible with the clothing of the time. Therefore, I actually pulled up old photographs of children during the Industrial Revolution. Now, unfortunately, these photographs come from a dark history because during the 1800s, children were often used as slave workers, essentially, basically unpaid child labor, which is very bad, not a good thing. This is why we have laws to protect against this now. But these photographs offer me a fantastic look into the outfits that the children wore back then. Now, traditionally, Little Red Riding Hood has always been like this cute little girl in this cute little red dress, but I don't want to do that. So instead, I want to do a kind of Industrial Revolution boy instead. A kid who is from this time era, essentially. Since everybody draws cute little red skirts and I'm very tired of that cliche. So these images are specifically more towards on the boy side of what boys would wear during the Industrial Revolution. Reference, reference, reference. Never can have too much reference. Additionally, instead of a basket, I'm gonna give him actually a little goat to be his companion. Just because even though he lives during that time, I don't want him to be living in the city. I still want him to be living kind of more towards the outskirts in a cute little quaint village-like scenario. And the first thing I'm gonna do is sketch up my Little Red so that I know what he's gonna look like when I start my painting. This is completely optional, but for someone like me, I prefer to design as much as possible. I just think it's really fun. So when I was designing Little Red, I thought to myself, I don't really want to give him a stereotypical red cape. Let's give him a small apron instead, kind of like similar to what these boys are wearing in the reference image. I also gave him one of those classic hats, the page boy hat. And just to emphasize that he's kind of living more towards the outskirts, I gave him a cloth sash to tie his apron together. And his apron and hat would be the red aspects. And as I'm drawing, you'll see that there are parts of his design that I added and then I took away. Because I want his design to be more simple, more simplified. If it's too cluttered and too messy, then he doesn't feel like, he feels like more like an adventurer than a small boy who's just going to go deliver some food to his grandma. Simplicity, I feel like, is key for a character like this. And just like that, the character's done. Fast, simple, easy. And I'll be able to use this as a reference for my painting. Alright, super quick pop quiz. Since this is a painting meant for animation, potentially a feature, so it's going to be on like a movie screen, what size of canvas should I use? If you thought about a 1.85 or 2.39 aspect ratio, then you are correct. Today, I'll settle for a size of 1.85 and just start sketching my ideas, and you're going to come along with me for the journey. First of all, because everybody has the exact question every single time, what brush do you use? All right, let me tell you the secret sauce. So this is the inking set by Kyle T. Webster, which is free for anyone who uses Adobe and has Adobe the license and is not pirating it. I see some of you out there. But if you do have it, if you do have an Adobe account and you're subscribed, then Kyle has a wonderful inking set, and I'm literally just using the one called Letterer's Nice Line and also the brush one for all of my sketching at the moment. So I've got my little red right here just chilling, hanging out so that I can keep him in the back of my mind. I think about, okay, I want him to be setting off on the start of his journey. I look at my references and I think, oh, these little bridges are just so cute. I really want him to be walking on this bridge and saying kind of like goodbye to his grandma, or just like going forward with this little goat off into the woods to go see his grandma and deliver some food. And I want it to be in this beautiful mountain view with some clouds coming through perhaps, and grass and a little lake. So I'm looking at these references and these are the ones that are giving me the inspiration. So I go in and I just sketch. I think about really quickly just like roughly what kind of image I should have in my mind. So I first think about, well, I kind of want I want a low camera angle. So here I am just sketching my bridge. It doesn't need to be good, okay, I promise. It does not need to look good at this moment. I think about, I want it to be a high angle because I want the viewer to have to look up. So it's kind of like a moment of wonder, and it's gonna be like a really hopeful scene. So as you can tell, my sketching is kind of awful, like what exactly is happening, but that's completely okay. That's just how things go. And I think about, I want some rocks here. I want my little red right here, and I want the goat to be right here. So that's goat. Looks more like a devil alpaca, but regardless. I got my little water, my stream here, have some more rocks, and this will be my foreground. So I'm gonna have this area be foreground. So it's gonna touch in, and it's going to be more towards mid-ground, and then this will be background, and there'll be kind of maybe some mountains going on, and this is literally the level of sketching that I do. I will never show this to an art director, but this is what goes through my mind. What can I say? Art's gotta come from somewhere. Now is the time to think more about composition. I want this scene to be a arrival shot because the characters are so much smaller, so it showcases a lot more environment. This is also to make sure that in my demonstration, I can show more of the things that you might potentially run into, since arrival shots are so much more environment focused and heavy. But because I'm using a low angle so that I can really show off the character in the bridge, horizon line is a little bit more towards like somewhere here, which is a little bit atypical for an arrival shot. The line that I want my characters to be at is going to be kind of more towards here, and I'm just going to use the crop tool. So this is my favorite hack. So if you just click crop, like right here, and you just tap the side, then you'll get this grid that is literally the rule of thirds, and it's right there done for you. And I just think to myself mentally, okay, this is the intersection right here, which means that I'm gonna want to put my little red right there. And I'm just gonna scoosh him ever so slightly higher to make it feel as if the audience is really looking upwards into the sky. Now, I'm just gonna go ahead and refine this sketch a bit because this is truly horrendous to look at. As I go through to refine it, I'm really just noodling here and there and everywhere, adding shadows, adding line weights, so that if someone actually looked at this piece, they would understand what is going on. The original sketch that I did was just so that I could have an idea for myself, and now I'm really trying to make the piece happen. So everything's got to be a bit more precise, obviously. I like to pull up my references, and I will also sketch and resketch because this is the backbone and skeleton of your piece. The composition right now is being decided. So you'll see that when I'm drawing little red, I will pull up his reference right next to it so that I can draw him accurately. Then same thing with a goat. I'll pull up the goat reference and make sure that I draw the goat accurately. Now is the part where I differentiate between the three values: foreground, midground, and background. This will tell me the overarching black and white value of the entire piece. You see, we're really using everything that we learned so far. Not a drop of knowledge is wasted. And with these divisions of the black and white values, now I can finally tackle my next step, which is actually coloring and going in to take this piece to a finish. Now, this video has already gotten pretty long, so I'm gonna see you in the next episode.